GM, everybody, and welcome to day 4 of the Agents Gizathon. Today is another exciting day, which we will have something a bit more different, different than what you've seen so far. Instead of workshops, we're going to have a partner panel. We have made sure to invite representatives from all the bounty providers and all the partners in the hackathon, and all of them will be here to share a nice conversation, offering a few insights on Giza, the whole ecosystem, and the synergies between each of their products. I'm going to quickly invite them on stage, as we have a lot of people that will be participating today. So starting off with Lana from Starkware, we have Vassilis as well. We have Cem, who will be moderating from the Giza team, and a few more people coming in. We have Nick from London. Hello, hello. Looking for Emily. Hey, everybody. For all the participants that will be watching, feel free to use the questions tab on your bottom right side or the chat itself to ask some questions, and some of them might end up being answered based on the time we have available. But yeah, please feel free to be as active as you can and share some insights based on what participants end up sharing. But yeah, Cem, over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Yasin. Obviously, you had many opportunities in the sort of like series of events to have, the context about Giza and the agents and what they mean and so on, or the interpretations of what they mean, because they are hardly very established currently. But this is more of a, both pioneering field for the participants of this panel, but also the hackers that are participating in this hackathon are pretty much first people who are building trust minimized applications that are powered by machine learning and Web3. So I think I'm going to not go over time with regards to defining what agents are. I think we have done that sufficiently. But given sort of this open design space of what these agents can mean for protocols and for AI, actually, it's really valuable for us to think with qualified people and qualified partners. And so I'm really excited to have this group of people that are participating in this panel today. And I want to start actually by just hearing a little bit about your protocols first, as a round of introduction to yourselves and what protocols you represent. Maybe we can start with you, Vassilis.
Absolutely. And thank you, Cem, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I know that we cannot see all of you, but you can see us. So I really hope everyone is doing well, and you have unleashed your creativity the past days and the following days that are coming for this Gizathon. My name is Vassilis. I am leading business development for zkSync, and to be more accurate, for Matter Labs, which is the cryptography company behind zkSync. For those who are not very familiar, zkSync is one of the most established L2s on Ethereum, and probably the first one that, let's say, popularized the use of zero-knowledge technology for scaling Ethereum. My background is I spent many years of my life at Microsoft in the AI team. So I'm saying this because AI and Web3 both are very big parts of my passion on a professional level. And a few things about zkSync. As I said, Ethereum L2, we're very proud about some of the native characteristics we have in our chain, like paymaster and account abstraction. I'm highlighting those because agents can definitely tap on those primitives and become, I would say, much more user-friendly, but also much more intentional. We'll talk about intention in a second, I suppose. Yeah, I cannot wait to see what each one of you will be building, hopefully on zkSync. We'll have a good bounty about, let's say, a DeFi-specific agent. But I suppose we're here today to talk about agents in general. I have many theories, as Cem and the Giza team knows. I can talk about this forever, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. But super happy to be here. It's an honor. Cem, should I pass the mic to someone else? I will do it just as a gentleman to Lana. Lana, please.
Thank you, Vassilis. So my name is Lana. I'm the EU exploration team lead at Starkware. So Starkware is the company that is actually behind the Stark protocol that is heavily used by a lot of companies that scale blockchain. But what is also interesting about Starkware is that the language that is used is Cairo, and this is actually what is used by Giza models and agents. And Cairo uses the Stark protocol under the cover, and that allows to scale any kind of computation. Yeah, so here we're able to scale machine learning models in the context of AI, and we're also able to scale transactions and off-chain computation for blockchain. So this is a very interesting path to take as well, because what you can do using AI is you can scale machine learning, which was previously not possible, to not to scale machine learning completely off-chain, what you can already do with Giza, but actually scale the world of Web3 together with AI. So what I think it opens doors to is, first of all, to bridging a lot of real-world use cases with blockchain. So I really see applications being built with real-world assets and any kind of real-world data that we can get access to. So it doesn't have to be all DeFi. It can be something you could be measuring, temperature, or you could be measuring noise pollution. Yeah, you could be measuring a lot of different things. So in the future, I really see protocols leveraging different kinds of data from different kinds of sources. But in terms of DeFi and yield generation, it's also very interesting, because often, people ask questions, what can you do? What should you do? What kind of, should I give money to this fund that is managing funds, doing copy trading and things? And with Giza models, what you can do is you can have models executed that are fully provable. There's no trust there, and we have account abstraction on StarkNet, and that allows the model to just have a gateway to the blockchain and to and allow the model, the agent, to execute based on the results of that model. Cool. I will pass on to Nick.
Yeah, thank you, Lana. I'm Nick from P2P.org. We are infrastructure providers, so P2P one of their number one according to TVL in Ethereum right now. So we run the nodes when people delegate Ethereum for us to support consensus in different proof-of-stake networks. And historically, I'm joining P2P to support data analysis through different ecosystems, right? So we have different process of staking, different process of rewards. So it's multi-chain analytics system. And since since 1 year of hard work, we decided to monetize this approach for Web3 developers to speed up development of applications. So that is why I'm representing Lambda during this Giza hackathon. We want to help people to build application, to train their models, and really exciting to work with ML engineers who want to train their models, because as I believe that the maturity of any area, any industry can be measured by number of machine learning engineers involved in different kinds of processes. So, and I guess it's a big step for crypto to start not being just like reactive, but proactive, when we can predict some metrics. And this is especially important when you want to automate some decisions in investment and DeFi. So the use case we are trying to support during this hackathon is staking data. So we got a data set with performance of node operators, their rewards, and suggest you to predict the performance of some node operators to automate the decision about delegating one of them. So this is the kind of use case we are trying to support here. And yeah, this is the thing. I guess if you will be interested in this domain, let's call it staking, pre-staking, this kind of thing, because this is, I guess, one of the main narrative today in crypto. That is why everybody wants to build LRT protocols, LST protocols to restake some tokens and bring more risks to core process of staking and extract more rewards from that. So I believe that it's really, really important to everybody understand how to measure this risk and how to predict them. So I will glad to support you any knowledge in this domain and help with the data set we provide if you need any specifications. So thank you, Giza, to really exciting to participate here.
Yeah. Great to have you.
Yeah, and I guess I will continue this gentleman thing. So Emily, let's pass the mic to you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Emily. I am a developer advocate at Linea. So if you guys aren't familiar with Linea, we are an EVM equivalent zk rollup bootstrapped by Consensus. So I think like the pieces that you can kind of pull away from that, I think is the first piece is whatever you build on Ethereum is directly you can port over onto Linea. So I think precompiles, opcodes are the same. Everything should behave similarly, which I think is a really great kind of paradigm to sit in. Number one, because Ethereum's always changing. So I don't know, like, you know, the what it is isn't always the same. The other piece is you're able to leverage the network effects of all the tools that already exist there. It's super easy to port over. And like, overall, I think it's really important to just have open infrastructure. When people ask me why should I build or deploy on Linea, I'm like, yeah, XYZ, but like deploy everywhere that's EVM equivalent, you know, get your bags. I support everything. You know, we're all going for the same dream here, right? I think to that effect too, when I talk about, you know, I say bootstrap by Consensus. So Linea was actually started as a research project within Consensus 5 years ago. And if you don't know Consensus, they're actually the company that like owns MetaMask is what you can say. So what that I think is really cool with Linea then is we have the whole kind of powerhouse of vertical integration, right? Exposure through MetaMask, leveraging the resources of Consensus. If you guys also didn't know, Bezu, one of the Ethereum clients, is also built in-house at Consensus. So I think Linea is the only multi-client L2 as far as my memory serves so far, which is really fun. Yeah, so I think it seems like everyone's been talking about kind of, you know, their dreams for AI and what they're looking for. I will say kind of big secret, or now you know, I'm not super familiar with like the whole AI space other than it's really exciting, right? And I think that's part of the motivation for sponsoring a hackathon like this is I want you guys to teach me, right? Rather than being prescriptive about like what I'm looking for. And yeah, to that effect, right, like Linea is definitely more a general purpose chain. You can deploy whatever use case is on it. My kind of gut reaction, if I had to answer the question, right, is probably more along the lines of like AI agents with regards to DeFi. And I say this, I think, for 3 reasons, right? So DeFi is incredibly important to any chain because you need liquidity in order for it to run smoothly. The second piece is, oh, I don't remember the third piece. God. Okay, well, the second piece is basically I want someone to automate my life away. I am horrible and so scared and like low tolerance, low risk profile with regards to like investing or like participating in DeFi in crypto, which I think is definitely one of the most landed and popular use cases, right? So if I had to say something like, make life easier for me, I want to click a button and like everyone else figure it out. And then it says like, Emily, are you low risk, high risk? You know, what are you feeling today? And I was like, well, I had a good breakfast, so I'm I'm playing it risky. I don't know, yeah, investment strategies. That's kind of where I'm sitting. But also be creative. I think our bounty is for most creative. So in terms of use cases, what's sexy right now is like, how do AI agents fit into social and gaming? I think that's actually something is not at least immediately apparent to me on how it works together. So do that. Build something in there so I can learn. Yeah. So I guess the last person, but not the least, certainly the best here is Luca. So I'll pass it on to you.
Well, you set the expectation really high. Good to be here, guys. Thanks, Giza and Encode for organizing this. I'm super excited to be here. I think, representing Enzyme, I'm actually the BizDev lead at Enzyme. Enzyme is, one of the leading protocols in on-chain asset management. Has been used to be known as Melonport in the early days in 2017, when it actually did the ICO with the clear mission to disrupt the fund management industry and bring it on chain. So I think there's a perfect fit in what we're doing with the mission also of Giza and the automation part. Obviously, for us, it's really about DeFi. It's about asset management. I think everybody has this wet dream of having an AI agents that manage your own portfolio of assets. And so, I mean, I'm going to talk more about the use cases that I see. I think we're going to discuss a bit further down the line about specific use cases. But one of the things that I like the most, I was participating in one of the previous session this week, and I really appreciated how you framed what Giza is trying to build in terms of more dynamic and trust minimize say agents rather than just bots that have a very static and kind of discretionary logic. This would be a much more advanced kind of solution that I think would bring automation to the next step. In my BizDev lead, in my BizDev lead role, the conversation that I have on a daily basis with users, definitely automation comes up a lot, especially in the last, say 12 months, has been coming up a lot. But we're still talking about, hey, we need to do A, B, C, really simple stuff in terms of automation that can be done with a simple bot. But here, we're really talking about putting some form of intelligence and learning to the automation, which I think can unleash, first of all, a lot of creativity from the builders, and second, a lot of use cases that we haven't even imagined yet. So definitely, I'm gonna talk about what we kind of expect from this hackathon, but I would also love to leave it an open canvas for people to just imagine what's possible and kind of surprise us with solutions.
Wow, that was an amazing start, and actually, this round answered multiple of my questions at once. So it gives us kind of more of a free space to talk about maybe a little bit more improvisationally about AI agents. But I just want to react to some of the things you have said. I think, well, to react to you, Emily, I think this sort of automate my life away, sort of reduce my cognitive load is such a fundamental part of it. Not necessarily only from a kind of consumer aesthetic, oh, I don't want to think, do things for me type of stuff, but more about systems architecture of reducing the aggregate cognitive load necessary to get to a collective goal, or a financial system that works. How much cognitive capacity does that impose on society to operate? And these type of agents or smart automation can create these regulators that take that away from humans, both perhaps reducing failure modes as well, and creating just much better user experience as well. And one thing that I'm fascinated by since the first time we spoke, Nick, you brought in this use case that we were always thinking about agents on such high level sort of application layer, and after our first conversation with P2P and Lambda, we just realized that wow, actually innovation that is happening probably like, you know, on the most upper ends of the stack actually has implications for low-level consensus mechanism design. You know, it's so that's pretty fascinating, and I think that is also something relevant to maybe linger on for a little bit more, because we have three you know, layer 2s in the call right now. So like this is all you know, very relevant for many players here as well. So like yeah, if you just want to say a few more words there, otherwise I can keep ranting.
Yeah. So I guess staking was. I'm actually happy about the Eigen layer, but just because of interest in the data domain, we got the support since the original of our core business. But yeah, definitely. So if something happen in Beacon chain, which is consensus layer of Ethereum, then you will see a lot of issues in any layer 2 solution built on top of it, especially when you restake the token, especially if you have some LSD tokens and which provided in DEXs, in lending borrowing protocols and different kind of things. So yeah, we're happy to support this use case.
Thank you. Vassilis, you want to go?
Sure. Just building on what you said, Cem, right? As you said, we have at least 3 L2s, Ethereum L2s here, which are, for me, shows something, right? It shows that, you know, there are no, you know, in Web 2, we automatically tend to think that companies which are in the same, or projects which are in the same space, they are necessarily competing. For example, Linea, zkSync, right, etc. This is why we do these hackathons, to show to you and to show to developers and to everyone that, you know, Web3 has a completely different ethos. It's a very open, interoperable space, right? We're still not there yet. I think everybody would like Web3 to be fully interoperable and everybody can connect with each other. But I suppose my point here is, and I remember from Monday when we had the introductory call, right? The developers who are participating in this hackathon, they're from all over the place. I remember seeing places from, you know, Africa, Europe, the US, Latin America. I suppose my point here is, this is where we need to learn from you guys, from the developers, right? We expect you to redefine what an agent means. We are literally trying to shape something which is completely novel. There is not a playbook here, right? And of course, we have given some guidelines. For example, the zkSync bounties about DeFi, right? But like, again, what is DeFi? DeFi is something which is, of course, finance, but it can be DeFi social fi. So you can use, you know, social, decentralized social with finance, or it can be an NFT and DeFi. Again, the lines are so liquid in the sense that you can do pretty much whatever you want. And believe me, I will talk about zkSync. I don't want to talk on behalf of Linea or other L2s here, but like, we will be more than happy to consider agents that you build, you know, which are more, I would say, which are breaking the boundaries. Try to be creative. It's a hackathon, right? It's not an academic assignment that, you know, we will give you a grade and you will pass to the next course. So suppose, be creative, try to break the rules, right? And the other thing I will say is, again, from an agent, for me, agents, it's something which is firstly philosophical and then technological, right? What is an agent, right? Is it a representation of someone's persona? For example, is there a Vassilis agent that acts as Vassilis was acting? Or is it an agent that interacts with much more data than I can do as a human being, and maybe it's an extended, an enhanced version of Vassilis, right? Do I give all the permissions to my agent to do stuff for me? Do I trust them? Is it trust? Again, all those things are firstly philosophical and then technological. So I suppose my point here is, be creative, try to come up with ideas that nobody else has come up. It's the right place for you to experiment, right? And of course, the last thing I will say before I give the floor, of course, any kind of hackathon or competition has an inherent winner. Yes, someone will win the bounty. Fine, sure, and congratulations to them, right? But I suppose we will all learn from the various use cases we will all see, right? So do not try to approach it as a competition. but try to approach it as a hive mind, as a collective group of people who are trying to build something, and there will not be one single idea that will be lost. Every idea will be assessed, and then we can build on each other. Cem, sorry for the speedballing, but I think it's important.
Great point. I also kind of like this, and also this is why we chose it. But a little bit inspired by ETH Global sort of modus operandi on hackathon bounties. I think like the more colorful the bounty list is kind of like it feels less of a single track winner takes all kind of energy. So thank you so much for all of you to both like providing color to what you're looking for in your bounties. Emily, you said exploration, just like surprise me. And also Vassilis is like emphasizing creativity. Nick provided very clear sort of use case that I also really am excited about. Lana, Luca, would you like to also give like what you are looking for with regards to the bounties that you are providing, so we complete the circle?
Sure. So I think it's important to sometimes zoom out and think about what actual power we get with such strong protocols under the hood, with Starks and the zk technology, right? So how it empowers users. So I actually really liked Vassilis' speech to say that, we want to try and be philosophical rather than just technological. Because sometimes even I catch myself being excited about something just because, oh, I'm able to integrate this, or this runs, yay. Actually, it's very important to really like keep eyes on the prize and think what we're doing here, because with provable code, when you can prove that you executed something correctly, and this is what exactly you get with Giza, you can correctly prove that you ran a program. You get the property from apps and codes that you don't normally have today. We're all plagued with using apps that have no integrity, that don't show us what they do. They steal our data. They decide to block us, and they just do whatever they want, right? With us and our data and our information, and there is no integrity, no how do you say this when, oh my goodness, I forgot the word, like when you're responsible for something.
Accountability.
Yes, that's the word. Accountability. There's absolutely no accountability. So with the stack that we have here, with Giza and with Cairo and with other zk tech, is what you can demand from a machine learning model is accountability. So what I want to see is people who are smarter than myself that can see in what context we need this accountability. And we say, hey, because it could be something simple. I'm like, okay, I'm running a machine learning model that Vassilis wrote somewhere on his server, and I want to make sure that it's proven. But that's a very simple thing. I'm sure there are way more complicated and important thoughts out there that people can bring in and explain to us, and and show us what to do with all this crazy tech that we created.
Okay, so you want to see the value of zkML specifically in the bounty that you will be rewarding. Sounds great.
I think it's my turn, right? Yeah, actually, one thing that I forgot to say earlier, that I think what makes Enzyme especially good fit for this specific hackathon is the fact that you can create like a vault on Enzyme that has the ability to delegate management to like a third party. Can be human, but in this case will be a bot, or will be like some form of it's going to be a 0x address that is automated, and that can actually then manage the vault within the vault without obviously having the ability to withdraw. So essentially the owner of that vault can confidently delegate permissions and then experiment with asset management, with all the automation that people want to create. That means that they can define which assets that the automation can touch, which protocols they can integrate with and use among the 20 plus that we have on Ethereum. And so there's a plethora of opportunities and the architecture is particularly suited for like the asset management and the delegation part. When it comes to practical use cases that I can personally imagine. I can mention some, but I guess again, like I don't want to do bias or to spoil the party. I actually want people to come up with ideas, but some that, you know, kind of stimulate my curiosity and imagination are like, obviously, asset management for a personal portfolio, you know, asset management for a community of people. Imagine like people inputting like text instruction to like the automation, and then the AI agent collects and sort of re-elaborates many different inputs in a sort of social environment, and then turns that into some sort of action for the benefit of the community. Something like, you know, kind of sensing the sentiment of Twitter, for example, and then making this investment decision in consensus with Twitter, or maybe like doing the total opposite. You know, like could be like, you know, different ideas. I also like think that in the future, I mean, this is more like something for the future than for today, but as more asset classes come on chain, you know, like different asset classes, real estate, art, you know, you name it, then like the alpha comes from the correlation, right? You know, finding correlation or finding asymmetries between asset classes. And for people like, I guess, you know, you guys and me, who are mostly focused on crypto, it's very difficult to find asymmetries in many other different sectors. So that's where like an AI agent could actually be scanning like asymmetries and correlation between different asset classes and create a portfolio that is composed of different tokenized, you know, like a set of tokenized asset classes in the same on-chain portfolio. That would be for me like something that is completely revolutionary, right? Because there's nobody that has the expertise to be able to be such a, you know, such an encompassing kind of management. Yeah, so definitely like coming down to reality, like taking something which is like based on some sort of signal and turning it into like a smart automation that is able to you know sort of improve itself over time in a adaptive fashion, and that can represent a significant benefit for the Enzyme users or the Enzyme managers. So this is like the bottom line. Our headline is like best on-chain automated management on Enzyme. It's a very generic, we left it purposely generic because we didn't want to go too much into detail. So we kind of leave it open for people to figure it out.
Great. I actually wanted to also ask about a little bit more of a speculative question around, I mean, of course, agents like are provoking a whole bunch of speculation on every front. But I just wanted to ask you all if anyone has an answer. Like, this doesn't have to go around if you don't have one. Just like Luca did, if you have a native use case that you can think of, and just to elaborate on this nativity concept is like, you know, after internet came around, you know, you first have the replications of existing offline businesses or offline media that like gets ported over to the new medium. So you have like newspapers on the web, or you have like archives or and whatnot, and then something new happens, something new that was not existing in the prior world, but just got capacitated because of this new medium, like social media, for example. Obviously, sociality existed, but social media as a new form of relating to each other, intermediated by such technology, was a new phenomenon, and it did have consequences, obviously. So I'm just like curious if from this intersection, you do have a hunch that a certain native use case is around the corner, and if you have an idea what that could be. Vassilis, I see you.
Of course, always. It's an open question, so I love those questions, and it's something I have been thinking a lot. It's a very good question, right? And I believe one of the answers is the following: is in Web 2 we were still not able to prove ownership, right? So I cannot prove that I own a digital piece of content, right? I can go and I can download a Spotify song, like I do not own it, right? It belongs behind a closed API from Spotify, right? So that's one primitive, digital ownership that is provable, number one. Number two is the permissionlessness.
Vassilis,
yeah.
Isn't that Web3?
It is. I mean, it is Web3. Yeah, in a way, it is provable because you need to use a blockchain to prove it, right? So it is a blockchain-enabled primitive, right? How can you prove to anyone that you own something? You can use a blockchain, which is it uses consensus. So that's one primitive, right? Number two primitive is this idea of composability, right? Let me use an example from social, right? We all saw how powerful the concept of frame on Farcaster or open actions, as we call it on Lens, is, right? You can compose an action on the social feed. You cannot do that on Twitter or Facebook because it's a closed API, right? So if you take those things together, ownership, composability, and open pretty much networks, I think you can build things that you cannot do in Web 2. So as you said, Cem, right? The basic concepts remain the same. Social, finance, those exist for centuries. People were doing social things before even Web 1. We were going out and having coffee, right? And we were chatting. People were going to the bank to buy shares, 50 years ago, right? The basic primitive human need is the same, but it's how you can enhance them with building blocks that did not exist in the previous cycle. So what are those blocks that Web3 brings? Proving of digital ownership and composability. So now when you put agent on top of that you can train on any data set, right, the potential is huge. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I would approach it at least.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm going to say I didn't quite understand your question, but I'll take my best guess, right? So taking the example of like coffee shop to internet coffee shop, I'm assuming what you're asking about is like what, to me that reads as like what happened. Okay, let's start with like, I guess, oral stories, right? That's like the kind of just most basic interpretation. And if I'm correct in like what you were saying was like oral stories being put online with Web 2 enabled a lot of new interactions, like distribution of content, like interaction with content. And if we're talking about native moving up, right? So now we're like, okay, oral history becoming like blog content, written content, like, I don't know, subscription newsletters. Moving that into the Web3 space, what that translates into is like what Vassilis called like ownership, right? Now there's like record of the existence of this, like who it's attributed to, the permanence of it. So things getting deleted or lost. So we think about oral stories over time, passing information kind of disappears, right? It changes. Whereas when you bring it to Web 2, there's an ability of it to be deleted, right? And now we bring it to Web 3, there's permanence, right? And then if we take that native concept and say, okay, now we're in the next phase of like AI on top of Web 3, what does that look like? And it kind of brings it back around to almost like the native kind of Web zero web thing of like creativity, expansion, right? Now taking this history of that we've described and either taking actions on it, such as like further creation of content, being able to gather a bunch of stuff and do research. And I guess this is getting more philosophical and like has nothing to do with like this hackathon or whatever, but that's actually like, that's like how I'm interpreting what your question was asking. I'm going to stop here because I actually don't know if I answered your question at all.
I think you answered much more than I asked, but it was like you provided a media theoretic kind of assessment of consequences of this sort of convergence, and I think that's very, very valuable. Just to briefly sort of like elaborate what I was asking is like, so we have, again, with a boring and simple one, we have like ETFs or indexes in the traditional financial world, but these indexes are managed. There are certain decisions that has to be made, inclusion criteria. There are like committees. They do weight adjustment once a year or once a month or whatever, and then a certain company sponsors that and brings that to market charges fees on that, and Nasdaq or S&P or whatever. So now we are saying that we can do this stuff with AI and Web3, right? Like we can have an intelligence that creates a vector that is like weights and a list that is tokens, and then rebalances that based on its understanding of changing market conditions, performance of these tokens, security, whatnot. So this is not a native use case. This is, I would say, the use case that we are porting to the new media, and that provides new distribution and media theoretic consequences, meaning that now anyone can buy this stuff without KYC, unlike Nasdaq, for example. So it has distribution consequences. But I'm curious of like, what are the use cases that were just not possible before? Like, say, if the index was not possible before, this would be a native use case. But indexes were around before. So but it's super hard to think about. I'm just like trying to be a little bit provocative, and maybe like from a very ungrounded sort of like sci-fi element. I'm just like interested and curious and unsure about like how it will look like, but I'm excited for like inter-agent communication and inter-agent exchange as being one sort of thing that I don't think was very much possible, apart from like maybe algorithmic trading when like different bots in the market were like looped in each other. But just having like humans abstracted away from exchange and price setting systems, to me sounds quite interesting.
Cem, if I may jump in, because I'm intrigued. I just want to ask you a question to your question, right? Is it possible in Web 2 to have an agent that can interact with pretty much every protocol? Forget Web 3 for a second. If I build an agent right now on ChatGPT, I can go now and build an agent, right, on the ChatGPT store, right? Can it interact? With how many websites can it interact? With very few, because they're closed APIs, right? So the fact that I can have an agent on Web3 and it can go to any kind of DeFi protocol and do crazy things for me because it's open. Does this make it a native use case? It's an honest question. I know it's philosophical, but in your definition, does this make it a native use case for Web3?
I think this is a native design space. This is like, what all these hackers who are listening to this is like blessed with this design space, that they can utilize these unique properties of this intersection. I think native use case, again, I'm more like trying to provoke a kind of a crazy idea that is like just potentiated by this design space.
Got it. Okay.
My crazy response is, Cem, if I had an answer to that, I would not be doing this job right now. Right? So that's how I feel about
Emily, we're hiring, so like if you if you come up with something, come to the next hackathon.
Okay.
And I guess it's I don't know, maybe a little bit too controversial, but I'm thinking in that, is it still possible to do some things from traditional finance in Web3? So, for example, from my experience in traditional finance, it was 90% of monetization in ML, in machine learning systems. It was recommendations, right? So, in advertising recommendation systems. So, just wondering, can we keep these systems on Web3 with keeping privacy on the same level? You know what I mean? So it's just, I'm just wondering if we still can reuse this experience of these systems in new finance systems without losing privacy and this kind of stuff. So this is the thing I'm thinking.
Yeah. Actually, like one of the, and Vassilis touched on this as well, the sort of potentiality of having utility beyond DeFi into social use cases and recommender systems and decentralized content moderation and recommender systems. To me, these two like sound like what sort of not only decentralized social, but also like decentralized systems have been lacking, as opposed to Web 2 sort of applications and systems, because they can respond to things in a more agile manner. They can remove content that is harmful for whatever according to their ideology, but also that none of them wants to do this, right? Like they get grilled in the Senate for if they are biased towards one side versus another. They just want to relinquish this authority. But actually, we might be going towards building these capabilities in Web3, thanks to this capabilities of creating machine learning models that can engage in that curation for humans without and then have these agents be opt-in at the same time, right? Like so these are really, really interesting design spaces as well.
I have a thought. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had a thought. What could be kind of maybe peculiar for this space is that because we have all the code open source, yeah, and we have all the data historical. We have a lot of contract code that is open source. And let's say I want to have some kind of white hat Giza agent. Let's say I deploy a protocol and I say, hey, agent, go look at all the reentrancy attacks that happened in the past 10 years and look at new protocols and, analyze transactions that are happening. And if you see anything weird, here's power to freeze the protocol and I'm going to go to bed and chill out, something like that. So this is definitely a very native to Web3 type of thought, but I would be interested to see what Giza agents could do in application too. Maybe.
Totally. We did have this conversation at one point about bridge security, and there was I forget what was that Twitter conversation exactly was about, but a certain bridge provider was disclosing that they did engage in censorship of certain transactions based on them having the suspicion that that transaction is malicious. So, and the conversation was that, actually, like, there's social consensus that that's okay, right? Like, the bridge shouldn't be hacked. That's the highest priority thing. And then the conversation evolved into, wait, can we actually do this provably with machine learning models, the censorship of those malicious transactions? So another interesting use case. Thank you very much.
I was going to say, like, okay, I'm going to sound a bit unimaginative and boring, but I guess this will get the developers, the hackathon participant quite motivated. In my conversations with, asset managers, like especially across the TradFi space, I'm thinking of one major asset manager, and I quote, it's not my word, but their words is like, our North Star, like I actually also like the word, our North Star is actually getting away from model of collective investment schemes, as in funds, traditional funds, and going to the model of individual portfolio per client. And they think like blockchain will enable this because it's going to be like inexpensive to create individual portfolio. And then this opens up also the use case of micro personalization of asset management, because just like health, like you have micro personalization of health through AI, you can also have micro personalization based on your unique kind of financial goals and needs and risk aversion or risk appetite. So this kind of model will probably more like replace more and more the traditional fund administration, the fund management that these big asset managers are doing. Many people will still continue to use them as like sort of last mile, but the name of the game for like the BlackRock of the world is going to be who's got the best AI agent in reality. I mean, who's got the best algorithm, who's got the best alpha generation machine and self-learning machine. So I guess what we're building here is like the frontier of what's going to be the the future of like big ticket asset management in the traditional finance world. So that's certainly exciting. And my role is trying to sort of be the bridge or understand a bit of the kind of nerdy stuff that happens and I don't really know how to do, and what's happening at the table of the decision makers who are like boomers that are trying to figure out like how not to get left behind, essentially.
I find that it's a very peculiar line in financial products between supply and demand, in the sense that, especially in Web3, because say, Enzyme is a portfolio management automation protocol, and the moment you create some kind of you're able to productify that vault, which is effectively, again, like portfolio. It's a demand side financial architecture. The moment you're in Web3 that you are able to turn it into a vault that other people can invest in, then this is a financial product. So you become supply. So I find that interesting in the sense that in the conversation of, is finance going towards like hyper customization, or is it going towards like big structured products? I think, these things are very much getting meshed into each other, especially in an environment like Web3, where different strategies are becoming productified and are opening themselves up to multi-agent participation, which I think is the sort of what digital assets are all about. Like, we are creating these things to be able to extend access to them by, in a permissionless environment where a human can buy it, any human can buy it, and maybe some robots can buy it as well. So I think I'm not so opinionated that the future is necessarily hyper customized. I think customization is going to be there, absolutely, but customization is going to look for good supply, to assort, right? Because that's still going to be a portfolio. But yeah, great points. Next provocation. I think we have 5 minutes left, but as long as it goes. How do you see this? AI is famously about long-term speculation about AGI. People cannot stop talking about AGI and so on. I don't want to go there necessarily, but I want to ask you, how do you see AI on Web3 in like 5 years, not even 10?
I will take the first stab. Of course, a very open question. How do I see AI in Web3 in 5 years? Like, who knows, right? If you were asking us in 2019, right? Even how we would think of AI, forget Web3, I don't think we would be able to imagine the power of LLMs that we now consider as given, right? People forget that the whole ChatGPT craziness started 2 years ago, and it feels like it's 20 years ago, right? So, like, who knows? Of course, when you make predictions, the only sure thing is that you will probably be wrong. But so I have no idea. I suppose it's my point. But I definitely believe we will be seeing more and more things like decentralized AI, in the sense that there will be many use cases, many institutions, many people who will not want to rely on centralized providers to run LLMs. So that's number one. Number two, I truly believe, and this is not any kind of zkSync build position, but I truly believe that zk, not zkSync, but zk as a technology is one of the best things that happen in AI, and AI will soon understand it, right? I think we will witness more and more problems in the Web2 AI world about attribution, about data provenance, about monetization. You can already see that people get very angry that centralized providers are using their data without their consent or without them being able to monetize your data. And so how can you prove that the model was trained on X? You can do that with ZK, right? So I believe that ZK and AI, not necessarily blockchain, again, ZK, right? I think ZK technology will provide a great advancement to AI. And the last thing I will say, which is very related to the Gizathon, is that I truly believe that the next billion users in crypto will be agents, will probably not be humans, right? I may want to book a ticket to go and watch my favorite movie in 2 years from now. Why do I need to do anything myself? I can go and I can literally type in natural language, I want to watch Dune 4 on Sunday. Find me the best tickets, right? And an agent will go out They will not need to have any API. I will not need to give them my personal password for my Wells Fargo, whatever. They will have USDC. They will go to a Web3 commerce platform from Cinemark, and they will buy a ticket from me. Done. And I will have it on my wallet. Like, this is a very real use case that can happen not in 5 years, it can happen in 6 months. It can even happen now. It will be cranky, but it can happen now, right? I can give USDC to an agent and I can go out and do stuff for me, right? And it can be optimized based on my, or it can be like, find me, book a ticket for a move that I like. And they will be able to be trained on all my preferences because they will know which cinema NFTs I will have. And they will be able to say, oh, Vassilis likes science fiction. So I will book a ticket for Dune for him. Yeah. Everything is open, everything is permissionless. So why not? It's a real use case. So actually you can build it, guys. The guys who are listening, maybe that's a good use case. Forget Koi Finance for zkSync Bounty. I will leave 5K more from my personal pocket for anyone who can build this. But I'm teasing you, but Cem, this is how I see it. It's a real valid use case. And it's much more functional in Web3 than in Web2. So connecting to your previous question, this cannot be done in Web2. I cannot go to an agent right now and say, hey, these are $10, go and buy a ticket. They need to have an API, they need to do a KYC on a Wells Fargo, whatever. So sorry for being very passionate, but that's how I think.
No, that's great. I'm worried that the opposite is going to happen, though. Like, agents are going to start hiring humans to do their, their work.
Maybe. True.
Yeah. May I jump in with that? Always nice to have some philosophical predictions. But yeah, I guess I agree that AI can bring market of when the next money would be computation, this kind of thing. So it's not my thought, but OpenAI is like, as I heard. But the second one is that I hope that this all use cases will bring us the understanding that we need to make your data, or to bring ownership for your data. You know, so when you when data ownership is a data right, is a human right. You know, so when I can monetize my personal data through some systems and share the values, the value of it with them. So I guess people will come with more deep understanding how the data should work and how the data should be owned, especially with AI, zk, and maybe fully homomorphic encryption and this kind of thing. So I guess it will be the biggest step for our civilization, I guess.
Great. So creating circular data economics is what you see as the pivotal point, right?
Yeah.
Totally aligned. Emily, you're...
Yes, I can say two things. First off, I'm pretty sure AI is already paying humans. I think there's like, I read something where it's like, to circumvent civils, like AI just hired people on Fiverr to like click buttons, right? like take pictures and do KYC, right? So it's, the future is now. I can't speak for like use cases. I actually am very confident in what I say, like AI will be connected to Web3 in 5 years, is more so just solving the onboarding problem. Like, you know, it's hard right now. And if you take generically, AI has had wide adoption because it just makes things easier and abstracts away complex processes, right? And I think, as we all know, regardless of, you know, the benefits of Web3, I think for, you know, non-native users of crypto and like understanding those primitives, AI is just going to somehow be there, making it easier, whether it's obfuscating the wallet away, helping them engage in different things, like just doing it in such a way that they don't even know that crypto is happening. Yeah, that's gonna be around. And on the flip side too, not even from the user perspective, like this is just already true as well, AI involved in Web3 development, right? We've seen what's his name? David, Jerry, like AI already writing code for people, right? And Web3 is powered by code, right? So I already see a lot of tools helping devs build dApps in Solidity using AI. And I think those will just continue to improve. I mean, alongside like Web 2 development as well. So yeah. Okay, I guess what I will say, if you're doing anything AI related, those two use cases are pretty crowded right now. Because it's happening right now. I think it's completely, that's why I'm like, oh, I'm confident it'll happen in 5 years, because it's happening in 0 years. So if there's a way that you can like beat out all the competition, definitely go for it. I mean, like, I think my roommate is building another workplace productivity suite, and there's like Microsoft, Google, and like all of that. Like Notion came out when all these things still exist, and they were able to beat out because of like UX and solving like little pain points. So yes, if you can, go for it. Or also feel free to completely kick out those two common use cases right now. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
If I could add to the complexities of Web3 and onboarding users, it might not be super obvious, but with native account abstraction that we have on both, so we have that on Starknet, as I understand, on zkSync, you don't have EOAs as well, right? You have native account abstraction. The thing is that with that, you're already able to just use Face ID the same way you would use it for N26, or the same way you would use it for, Revolut or whatever. So the fact that anything is there under the hood, blockchain related, is completely abstracted away from the user. So we already have that. Yeah, so propagating it further on, it'll be way easier with these new features. What I think is also coming on is definitely different markets. I think will be automated. Imagine if you could tell your agent, for example, please go look at the real estate market. Here's my budget. Here are my basic preferences. Here is how much I'm willing to pay per month. Can you please find what should I do this year? Should I rent or should I buy? How can you? And I have a suspicion that agents will do it much better than humans for themselves. So
yeah. So actually, like, the interface problem is like super interesting, as it like allows for general language to be translated into intents. But there's these huge challenges with LLMs, that they are like prone to prompt injection, extraction attacks and so on. So that like the security that you need to operate on like an environment with high consequences like Web3, and that's at least have like quite a bit of tension currently before we solve, how do we ensure, security on a conversational interface that's, nobody is kind of engaging with that intelligence and extracting your very relevant information, or like injecting certain things that are going to execute those things against your will. So I think, I hope that there will be like a working solution in the future, but the malleable nature of transformers seem like a little bit too prone for manipulation right now. But hey, oh, sorry.
I just have a few closing thoughts, because I think like predicting 5 years ahead is absolutely impossible, because like there's some decades that feel like a year, and so there's some years that feel like a decade. And this is if we go back like to like COVID, like in a year everybody became like an expert of using Zoom and working from home, and like all companies like that created like spurred like a whole new culture of digitalization. So I think like if we take that parallel, like how things that force you to change your habit and create like a whole new culture, I think at some point when we see the convergence of AI, like DeFi, so essentially once we start seeing that the best opportunities out there are in a certain environment, then you're kind of forced to take part of it, or otherwise be left behind. I mean, there's obviously an unconventional and harsh truth about artificial intelligence, which is very Darwinistic. I mean, it's like either you adapt to it, or you're left behind it. It starts to have a huge divide between those who use it and leverage it, and those who don't. So the moment people start to realize that you have to be part of it somehow, you have to jump on it, whether you like it or not, because you're kind of forced to it, then this will become like a wave of adoption that I think will be much more than improving UX. It's going to be like a matter of necessity for people to be part of it, and that's when, like, instead of like blockchain being a solution in search for a problem, it's going to be like a real problem that people feel on their skin, and they will actually then see, okay, what is the best how can I make it, essentially? How can I survive? How can I float in this type of environment? And probably this is going to be one of the solutions.
Great inputs. I would say on a lighter note that something else that blockchains allow us to design is systems that are able to capture protocolized value of, say, with AI agents and data economies that becomes on at a new scale to socialize that value through different mechanisms of creating public goods or public value as well. So Gnosis tried to do this with a UBI mechanism with circles. So there's like many post-capitalist experiments also taking place, and I think especially with AI providing such a phase shift from the necessities and the media for exchange simply, it's going to be a profound shift for the economy at large. So we will need some kind of a reformation there, and what better place to experiment with new forms than Web3. Thank you everyone for joining, participating. It was one of the most fun panels that I hosted.
Yeah, thank you, Cem. This was really amazing. Again, conversation was great, and we did go a bit over time, as is why some of the participants had to move on. But I hope everyone in the audience enjoyed it as well. Maybe a couple of things that I wanted to end with. A couple of links actually, and updates on where we are with the hackathon. Obviously, this will conclude the activities that were planned for the first week. We've had 4 workshops and the partner panel. Tomorrow there will be no additional content, but for those of you that missed any of the previous sections, you will be able to find them in the Hacker Pack. A quick reminder for all of you, there is I'm going to quickly share it on, you'll see there's a notification on your screens. There is an ideation form that we would like all of you to fill out. For those of you also watching the recording as well, this will make it quite clear for the Giza team on what exactly you're planning to build. It doesn't have to be a concrete idea. It can still change, but just the direction that you're planning to take will be really helpful. So the more details you can provide, the better. And we will be able to provide you then specific as I said, support. Additionally, once again, adding also the Hacker Pack, which you can find all the important information that you can use to build something for the hackathon. So again, these are the most important links to keep in mind of, and I think those are no major points to add. Some closing words from all of you, if you want to add something that was not covered already.
I'm just excited to see what's beyond our speculation, and I will be tuning back to the Encode channels for trying to get a glimpse of what these ideas that are emerging are.
Show me what you got, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're at the forefront of this stuff. This is fun. It's really cool.
Yes, and you all know there's like additional 5K bounty confirmed by Vassilis for everyone that builds him an agent that buys him tickets. So if you want to buy him tickets for movies,
it's going to be an expensive movie ticket.
Perfect. Thank you all. Thank you for attending. I hope you had fun. And yeah, see you around, and looking forward to seeing your ideas. Have a great day, everyone.